I'm Tom Layson, and this is a Northwest Now Digital Extra. Lawmakers convene in public, but open government advocates complain that their real efforts are focused on operating in secret. In 2018, an editorial and voter backlash prevented lawmakers from exempting themselves from the Public Records Act. But now, 5 years later, they're at it again. In 2018, they tried to pass a bill to exempt themselves, but this time they're just doing it by fiat, rejecting records requests, citing a legislative exemption that legal observers say has been invented out of whole cloth. Why does it matter? Because as Northwest Now contributor Steve Kiggins tells us, open records are crucial to holding policymakers accountable, as was a recent case involving an investigation by KUOW Radio.
And it's a question that everyone had. I mean, it wasn't just us. It was like a big question for everyone in Seattle.
KUOW reporters Ashley Haruko and Isolde Raftery found themselves covering one of the most consequential protests in Seattle's history in 2020 and searching for an answer to a question everyone was asking.
Who made this call? Like, who the heck made this call?
In early June, demonstrators and Seattle police faced off night after night. SPD worried activists just might set the East Precinct building on fire. Police stations had been ransacked or destroyed in other American cities during protests. City leadership claimed they wanted to ease tensions, choosing to give up ground for protesters beyond the East Precinct.
Removing the barriers was critical to removing the flashpoint, and if there were the safety concerns for people in the building or the equipment, but that is not the equivalent of abandoning the station.
On June 8, 2020, officers removed property, left the building, and locked the doors, all without seeking approval or notifying then Mayor Jenny Durkin or SPD Chief Carmen Best.
You should know, leaving the precinct was not my decision.
Best shared this message of steadfast support for the rank and file 3 days after the East Precinct was abandoned. Later the same day, Best joined Mayor Jenny Durkin's media conference, but stopped short identifying who made the call.
The decision was made as officers were taking things out of the precinct, they didn't want to come back into the precinct, and many of them did not. So we're still going to evaluate exactly the pinpoint of why that changed, but it didn't come from me.
Mayor Durkin also deflected blame. Soon, surrounding streets were occupied by activists. SPD says emergency response times tripled after leaving the precinct. During the closure, the department released surveillance videos showing people trying to set the building on fire, and others showing the escalating gun violence on Capitol Hill. Within a month, SPD reclaimed the precinct. It would take more than a year of waiting, multiple interviews, and sifting through thousands of public records requests for KUOW to finally answer who made the call to flee the station.
This decision made way for CHOP, which is unprecedented and historic. Then at a political level, you could probably draw a dotted line between this decision to leave East Precinct and Chief Best's resignation a month later. And then also Mayor Jenny Durkin's decision to not run for re-election. But also it's a question that the community has had. Who made this decision? It wasn't the police chief. It wasn't the mayor. And it turns out it was the incident commander and his team who did it on their own.
That's like a time in Seattle history that people are going to remember for years and years and years, right? And what happened.
It's nice to be recognized. Come on, right?
For their dogged determination seeking truth, KUOW's Haruko and Raftery were recognized with key awards from the Washington Coalition for Open Government. The coalition insists their reporting helps Seattleites see through the chaos and hold the powerful to account. But Raftery says what happened in early June 2020 reverberates until today.
There are so many reasons why it's hard to kind of unpack what has happened, but it has been really demoralizing, frankly, for all city leaders and for police.
Steve Kiggins for Northwest Now.
To see our full discussion about open government, be sure to look in the Northwest Now digital section of kbtc.org. Northwest Now airs Friday nights at 7:30 right here on KBTC, and be sure to look for more digital stories like this one by following us on Facebook and Twitter at Northwest Now.